I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Apparently, I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast, coming to you live from Burbank, California. My producer Lily is up and walking around. That's weird. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very strange. Because normally, I'm used to people sitting and staring at a screen and making sure that everything's transferring properly. And especially because we just spent, I'm going to say 45 minutes trying to make sure that everything was properly recording and the microphone was positioned the right way in front of my face. And it still isn't, because as I talk, I can hear my beard scraping on the microphone. So, yeah, folks, that's what I've got. This is what I do all week. I wait to sit into a room and talk, and then I have nothing to talk about at all. Lily sat down now, and that's big, because I think she understood that it was really disturbing me. And it was funny, because I tried to be passive-aggressive about it. I'm like, are you going to be walking around while I talk? She's like, just start talking, because apparently our relationship has gone from friendly to now supervisory in the small amount of time that we've been, I want to say working together, but there's no money involved, so there's no work. It's literally it's just me talking and her staring at me. I walked in today and she's making apple pasties. She's fashioning apple pasties out of netting and glue. If you folks want to know how to make pasties, send me an email, because I'll have Lily give you a blow-by-blow, because you have to draw something and then you cut it out. And my favorite was, she said, because I said, those are pasties, they're see-through. And she's like, yes, this is just the base. So I'm learning far more about making pasties than I cared to at this point. And she said, there's some traveling burlesque troupe in town, Cirque de Vagina, I think is their name, and she had to go ahead. I guess they're doing some "You and Me Under the Apple Tree" routine. Routine? Is that what it's called? Is that what a burlesque thing is called? You can say something.
Yeah,
okay. All right. So she needed to make apple pasties, and so she said to them, she said, I will make, because the woman said, do you know where I can buy some apple pasties? And as much as Lily knows about burlesque, she doesn't know a specialty store that sells fruit nipple coverings. So, I can't believe you did that. Oh my God. She just spit soda all over me. That was fucking weird. All right. And I saw it coming. It was so weird. I saw you laugh, and then it flew at me in 3D. All right. And thanks for the one paper towel. That's certainly going to help. That's going to help me go ahead and clean off the gallon of soda that I'm wearing. Jesus God. It's all over your floor. This is just a tragedy. What a tragedy. Yeah. So I'm literally covered in soda. It's so funny. I'll read stuff online. People will say, oh, I spit soda all over my keyboard. Oh, you got to clean off the Behringer? Clean off the control board. I pictured that thing just with smoke flying out of it.
Don't make me laugh.
All right. I don't want to make you laugh. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm talking. I'm trying to make America laugh, damn it. You just happen to be along for the ride.
Oh my God.
You're pushing buttons, for God's sake. Pushing buttons and ruining shirts. I am coated in Pepsi. That is weird. You know what I could have used? I could have used some apple pasties. Would have covered me up and prevented me from getting soaked with soda. You remember Soaked with Soda, by the way? That was great. I think they opened for Cirque de Vagina. Okay. So do you have to stop this?
Clean now.
You sure? There's no more, nothing's happening? No smoke is going to come pouring out of the Behringer?
We're not. My nose too when you make
Did
me
it?
laugh.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm happy, I guess, that I made you laugh, but at the same time, I'm covered in Pepsi. That is. I feel like a little kid, like when a little kid is all sticky and he's got nastiness all over him, grape jelly or something. I'm going to think of any viscous substance that children will be covered in that would be sticky. All right. Now you're up and walking around because you got to clean your house. All right. Okay. So I am covered. Oh, thank you for one paper towel. You are so generous. Thank you again for springing for what are you, Rosie from the fucking commercial? I only get one paper towel to clean up with. Man, all right. So let me try to get this dripping soda off of me. Okay, so we're calmed down. What was I talking about? I don't remember. So she's making apple pasties, and she had to. She tells me that the woman's like, "Where can I get them?" And Lily's like, "I'll make them for you. Measure their areolas, and I will measure, and I can make them for you." And I thought, man, that is a great job. I'm an areola measurer for Pasties Inc. That would be fucking huge. And and how do you do it? Is there like a caliper? Is it like when you measure body fat? You got to take it out and just go, oh well, you know what? We're looking at is it just like a ballpark? Do you go ballpark? Well, it's I'm going to say her areola is kind of an eye patch, although wow, probably not that big. You know what? It's bigger than a postage stamp. You know what? God, it is smaller than a doily. All right, I don't I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to whip out your tits because I'm gonna have to see them myself. I told her, I go, you should just say you got to send me pictures of their breasts, and she said that's something that I would do, and that's incorrect. It is not something that I would do. It is something that I would want to do, but I would not say to anybody, hey, I need to see pictures of those breasts. Although, quite frankly, if I pay to go see these people, I can see their breasts. But again, I don't want to sit through you and me under the apple tree. I mean, I just want to see them wearing their apple pasties. I don't need the ridiculous song from the 20s. I just want to see their rack. Ah, that's the dilemma with the burlesque show. You want to go see some hot chicks dance around, but unfortunately, you've got to sit through some, the banana dance from 1920 or some horrible song that they unearth. When they're like, you know what? That's the whole thing about burlesque. Is there, and it's funny. I went to the Dodgers game this weekend with my friend Kurt, and Lily's husband went with us, and so they had met before at Thanksgiving at my house, and Kurt was saying, or Lily's husband mentioned that he said, at one of the clubs where my wife dances, and my friend Kurt is really blunt. Like Kurt is not, Kurt is a good guy, but he has like no tact at all, and he doesn't really care that he doesn't have any tact, but he doesn't do anything to offend. He's really gracious and a really nice guy, but he also will just say just what's on his mind, and so he says to Lily's husband, "Oh yeah, your wife's a stripper or something, right?" And Lily's husband said, "Yeah, she's a burlesque dancer." And Kurt says, "Oh yeah, that's like a stripper from the 20s, right?" Yes, that's what it is. It's like a stripper from the 20s. You jackass. Way to kid glove it. Way to really go ahead and get your point across. And I thought we were going to have to jam at the Dodger game because we're sitting there. And again, Kurt is a big dude. I used to lift with Kurt. And by lift with Kurt, I meant I would show up and spot Kurt as he lifted the gym. I mean, he's crazy ripped. And so we would go to the gym, and he was, again, he's a very serious man. That's what Kurt is. He's very serious. And so then we're at the Dodgers game, and out of nowhere, he wheels on these people behind us. There's a little kid behind him, and he goes, "Hey, how about getting some of the peanut shells on the ground or underneath your own chair?" Because I guess this kid was throwing them under his chair. Like, I don't know why that's a problem. I couldn't really figure it out, but it had happened so quick. You got to back your friend's play at that point. And this guy's dad was all tattooed up and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to have to jam with this guy. Not realizing the fact that Kurt is built like a tank, and the last thing this guy wants to do is get his ass whipped in front of his kids. So this is exactly what Kurt does. He wheels on the kid and goes, "Hey, how about getting some of the shells under your own chair there or on the ground? How about that?" And the kid's like, "Okay." And then Kurt stood up and like kind of stretched and turned around and he goes, "Did you hear what I said?" he reiterated to a kid, like to a 10-year-old kid. "Yeah, you got it? You know what I'm talking about, pal?" Hold on, I'm getting turned down. What's happening? Was I popping? We went through this whole thing before taping because my voice seems quieter to me when I listen. And folks, imagine you hear me ramble on like a ninny. I mean, imagine what kind of a nightmare it must be when I have to actually convey information to you that's important to me. I mean, I'm talking about nothing to you guys, and I act like I'm delivering from the Treaty of Versailles. But when it's something where I'm like, you know what? I think my voice was very loud in the 41-minute mark. Maybe there's some way we can avoid my popping a pee. But we can't avoid it. I mean, again, I'm doing a radio show in a living room. That's what I'm doing, basically. And by radio, I mean a show that no one's ever going to hear. I don't know what I'm doing. A show no one's ever going to hear in a living room, which is a lie. People are going to hear it. So anyway, I know I get distracted. I'm still sticky. What am I thinking about? So we went to the Dodger game, and so like I said, I thought we were gonna have to jam with this guy, and thankfully we didn't because Karen, it's me, Karen, Lily's husband, and Kurt, and And I'm thinking if I get arrested, I'm trying to figure out who's going to bail me out. And oh, and also I'll tell you this: me and Lily's husband were at we went to the concession stand to go buy something, and the guy in front of us had his son with him, and his son had evacuated into his pants. Let's put it that way. His son needed to be changed, and this guy's having none of it. So he's waiting in line for a beer, and I keep exchanging glances with David, and I'm going because it reeked. I mean, it smelled like somebody killed an angel. I mean, it was like awful, just the worst. I mean, it was like that kind of a horrible stench just filling the air. And this guy didn't care, man. He was going to get his nachos, whether his kid had to stew in it or not. It was a fun trip to the ballpark. Cubs won. I'm not a Cub guy, but I was happy about that. And it was funny because, like I said, when I was with Kurt, I kept thinking I'm gonna have to jam with that guy because I've actually been arrested at a baseball stadium once before in my life. I've been arrested twice in my life. Once for a long story. It started out as Grand Theft Auto and then went down to warrant for seatbelt ticket. Long story, but. I actually told the story on Never Not Funny, my other show. It's funny. I get letters from people who listen to that who want me to tell stories from that show again, but I can't imagine that if I told them again, people would be interested in them. So who knows? Let me know. Send me emails, and we'll get to that later because when I say send me emails, you guys decide to send me emails, and we will chat about that a little later. So here's what happened when I was a kid, and by a kid, of course, I mean like 24. I'm in Angel Stadium. This is in, what is this, is it 88? This is when the Oakland A's were really good. So I think it's 1988. It's the Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, Bash Brothers Oakland A's. And my buddy, Dennis Eggenberg, is a huge A's guy. So he's like, dude, we got to go to the stadium. He loved Canseco. He wanted to go. So we go to Angel Stadium. So yeah, what am I? 22? Something like that. So I'm whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm old enough to get arrested, as we'll find out. So I'm there. And we have no money because at the time I'm just starting to do stand up and I work in an office. I worked in accounts receivable at Coast to Coast Terminals in Irvine, California. I have no idea if they're still open, but if they are, it was through no effort of mine because I was in accounts receivable and there was not one account that I attempted to receive in the entire time that I was there. I was supposed to be calling people and collecting bills. That's what you do in AR. And I was doing nothing. This is what I would do at Coast to Coast Terminals. Here's my work day. I started work at 8. That was when I was supposed to be there. I'd roll in about 8:40. I was constantly late because I was doing stand-up at night, going to do open mics and hanging and banging and doing that. Luckily, my boss, John Forbes, was a guy who was kind of in the office and kind of wasn't. He was starting like a bounty hunting service on the side, like a skip tracer thing. I don't know what the hell it was. What they would do is he and a couple of the guys who I worked with, they decided that they were going to go and repossess the equipment that was sold and not paid for. So they were off, they're all playing George Papard in the A team, so I've got free run of the office, in the AR office. It was me and a guy named Bill, who was like a 75-year-old guy who, couldn't have cared less what I did. So I would show up at 8:40. It was to the point where finally John Forbes said, you know what, you now work 8:30 to 5:30. That's your new shift. You work 8:30 to 5:30. So then you're only 10 or 15 minutes late instead of 45 minutes late. I said, John, great. I'm on board with that. So then I would go to my desk, and I had a huge log book where I was supposed to be calling people and getting them to pay the bills. I would go in, and I would sit down at my desk, and I would get out the newspaper, and I would put the newspaper in the drawer next to me. So I would open the drawer with the newspaper perched in there, and I would lean over and just read that until 10:30. So 2 hours I would read the morning paper. And because if people walk by, they would just see me looking in the desk thinking, obviously, he's looking for an account to receive. No, he's not. He's reading the sports. So I would do that till 10:30 when the roach coach would come, which if you work in an office or if you know anything about that, it's a truck that shows up and serves food. Like you can go out there and it's basically you take a break and go out and get a sandwich or in my case, 3 sandwiches or whatever the hell they had. So 10:30, I would go out to the roach coach. And I would pick up my buddy Dennis Eggenberg, who I worked with, and we would walk out there, and I would order and this is 10:30. Okay, it's not even lunch, but I would get a bacon and mayonnaise sandwich. I'm talking. You could put anything else on there too. It just had to make sure that it had bacon and mayonnaise on it as well. So it would be like a Reuben with bacon and mayonnaise with no sauerkraut and a huge order of fries, like crazy burned fries. Just the worst, awful, literally like eating a punch to the gut. That's what it would be. So I would go and then I would wait for them and I would wait to be the last guy to order. I would be honestly killing as much time as I possibly could. Then I would order it, take it, and I would go to my buddy Dennis's office and eat with him and talk. By the time I got back to my office from the Roach Coach extravaganza, we're talking 11:15. So I took a 45-minute break, and spent most of that time figuring out what time we were going to go to lunch and where we were going to go. Go back to the office at 11:15. I would actually probably work from 11:15 to 12 because I figured, you know what, go ahead and throw some time in here. And then at 12 noon, everybody else in the office started going to lunch, so I didn't have to do a fucking thing. I would sit there and do nothing from 12 o'clock until 1:30 because that's when Julie or John or the other people who are my supervisors would be out. By the way, is this the most boring story I've ever told? It really seems like it is. This is horrible. I don't know why I started talking about this. Awful. All right, you know what? Should I do? I might just have to whack this. Should I whack this? Jesus, this is an awful story. All right, so I would, God damn it. You know what? I would rather be covered in soda than tell this story. This is grim. All right, so we would go to lunch at like 1 to 2 because and then I'd get back from lunch at like 3:15, and then I'd have to 3:15 until 5:30. I would then start figuring out what I was going to do that night, and then the best part was he scheduled me from 8:30 to 5:30. Well, everybody else left at 5. So from 5 to 5:30, what am I doing besides there's nobody to supervise me. So again, I would do in a 9-hour day, I would do 45 minutes of work. And I worked there 4 months. I can't imagine what happened when they fired me. And they went into my office and realized that I had probably made 4 phone calls in 4 months. Oh, Christ. They might not be open. I think I took them down. There's no way that place is still around. That place has gone belly up. All right, so I was making no money there, and I was so then we go to the baseball game, and Dennis is like a huge A's guy. He's like, let's go see the A's. Well, at the time in Anaheim Stadium, you could sit upper tank out in the outfield for $3, which meant that any derelict who could string together 12 quarters was going to be out there in the fucking bleachers. So we're up top in the upper deck, and the A's are in town, and my friend is rooting hard for the A's. He's got his A's jersey on. And the night we go happens to be Rally Bell night. Of all the promotions you would have at a ballpark, they had Rally Bell night. A Rally Bell, which aside from sounding like the name of your pet dog if you live in Georgia, it was a cowbell, a miniature cowbell that was about 2 inches and made of metal, and they passed them out to everybody, wanting them to ring them like, to rally the team to victory. Well, let me tell you something. When the A's scored 4 in the first and then 3 more in the second, home run by Canseco, the Angels are down like 7-1, and Rally Bell night becomes Missile night. Because everyone decides, hey, let's throw the bells. Let's throw these miniature metal projectiles all over the stadium. Because again, it's your upper deck. These people are awful. I mean, just anywhere you go now is awful. Because it's funny when I was telling we went to see the Cubs and David, who went with me, is like, oh, good. Should I root for the Cubs? I go, I don't know if I want to get shot. Because unfortunately that's what it's come to. And if you saw the tape this week of the Lakers fans beating up the Celtic fan at Staples Center, that's what it is. You can't root anymore. Nobody can like any other team. You either have to just shut up and watch the game or get pounded in the face. Well, I like to think that is new, but unfortunately in '89 the same thing happened. My buddy's rooting for the A's, and we're about the 6th row upper tank. People above us start throwing the bells at us. And they're flying, and they're made of metal. They don't feel great. So we're down there, and there's also people sitting around us, and the bells are flying at them. And I looked at Dennis, and I said, it's like the 6th inning. I said, I'll tell you something. I said, if one more bell comes flying down here, I'm going up there. And I'm not kidding you. It's not out of my mouth when the bell hits Dennis in the shoulder. Bonk! Falls on the ground. And I just go, all right. And I stand up, and right when I stand up, because they're trying. That's the whole point. Is it's not, these guys aren't just having fun winging them all over the park. They're trying to get something to happen. So I stood up, and immediately there's like 10 dudes, and they're all like, oh yeah, you're gonna do something now. You're a big tough guy. They start goading me, and I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck it, let's go. And my buddy Dennis, not a fighter. So he's gonna back me. He doesn't know what the hell he's gonna do, but he's gonna go up there with me. So I go walking up there. And I walk down the aisle, and I'm like, who threw it? Who threw it? Who fucking threw it? All of you? I mean, seriously, I don't care at this point. And one guy stands up, and he's got a beard, and he's got greasy black hair and like a crazy Fu Manchu mustache. And he's a little chubby on his own. He looks like, you know what he looks like? He looks like a kind of a Mexican Jack Black. Like he's that size, but he's got like a crazy, the greasy mustache. He's just not an attractive fella in his flannel. And he's holding a beer, and he's like, "What are you going to do, Porky?" Which is actually a pretty funny thing to call a guy, when you think about it. That's great. So I immediately, that's it. He's the one who has now identified himself as the one who's going to get fucking punched. So I go walking down the aisle, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, now you're going to come after me. Oh, yeah, you're big tough." And he sits down. He was standing up and talking shit. Then when I come up to him, he sits down, and I go, "What's up? You got something to say?" And he won't even look at me now because I'm standing right over him. And his friend goes, "Man, you're lucky he's on parole, or he would kick your ass right now, man." But it's like, you know what he did? I go, "Oh, you're on parole? Well, then, you maybe shouldn't open your fucking mouth unless you want to get fucking jacked." And he won't even look at me. He's sitting there with his beer, and I got a rally bell, and I put it up to his ear, and I fucking ring it. I go, "You know what? Somebody up here ought to get this shoved down their fucking throat." And I whipped it as hard as I could into his beer. Splash! His beer goes on the fucking ground, spills that. And all of a sudden, I tapped on the shoulder. I turn around. Police. Not ballpark police. Real police. Because apparently, all over the park, people are throwing the bells, and the Anaheim Police Department has sprung into action to make sure that nothing happens here at the stadium. And they say to me, "What's going on?" And I go, "Look," and they pull me aside, and I show them, because I actually have a cut on my head. I go, "Listen, people are throwing the bells. These guys are talking shit to us, and I came up here, a lot and I'm trying to explain." And now, here's how you get a picture. I'm facing the police. From my point of view, over the police's shoulder, a guy walks up with a pretzel covered in mustard. And I see him, and I know it's coming, and I'm like, is he going to throw that at the cop? I hope. Nope. He leans over and just whips it and hits me right in the chest and face with a pretzel covered in mustard. Now, I'm here. You can't see me. I'm here. The cops are in between the two of us, and he throws the pretzel. They don't see it because they're not looking, and all I see is red at that point. I grab the cop in front of me, and I throw him over the railing. And I go, because there's not the railing of the upper deck. How great would that be? I killed a guy. Listen, you know what, folks? I murdered a police officer. It's weird when you hear how I got out of it. No, I throw him over because there's a side railing. So I throw the one cop over the railing, and then I just steamroll right through the other guy. I mean, I just completely Earl Campbell him. I put my helmet down and blast him right in the chest and go through. And the guy who threw the pretzel runs. Because I think he saw me dispatch 2 police officers and went, "Oh yeah, I'm probably not going to stick around and get torn limb from limb by this psychopath." So I go, but I'm running, and again, I'm running, and I am not crazy fat Mike at the time. I had just moved from Tahoe, so I'm probably right around 260. So I'm lean, man, and I can fly. So I'm just flying. I'm running, and I go to vault the railing, and I vault the railing, and I get over, and as I get right to the aisle where the guy is, I just get blasted by a cop. Like, he totally takes me out. And then 3 more cops come over, and they don't take kindly to getting thrown over railings and having a guy run through them. Let's put it that way. So I can tell you that I know what a nightstick feels like. I'll go ahead and drop that on you. And I get dragged. They drag me down the steps into the tunnel, like leading to where the concession stand is. And one guy is, he is playing Wipeout on my skull. He is just going Neil Peart from Rush. I mean, he is hammering me. And the other guys are, and this is what cops do. They're kicking me in the knees and in the thighs. Like they don't, they're basically trying to disable me. And again, as we've learned in other shows, I will get psychotically mad, and I am able to switch it off at the drop of a hat. So this is what I did, because I'm the stupidest man alive, and I think this is going to help. I throw the cop, I blast through the other cop, I jump the railing, I go running over, I just about get my hands on the guy, and boom, I get tackled by the 4 cops. And immediately when I get tackled, they're wailing on me, and I go, "I'm cool." Yeah. I'm sure they're going to go, Oh, sorry, we didn't realize you were cool. I guess we should have thought about you being cool before you made our other buddy bleed and you threw him over a fucking railing, you idiot. No, they decided not to say that they were cool, and they just went ahead and they riffed me. You ever see the end of the Warriors when the riffs are on the beach and then they wind up killing the Warriors come out and play guy? Yeah, that was what happened. I got riffed. So these cops, It was like I was Rodney King before Rodney King was cool. That's exactly what it was. I was Rodney King without the 95 mile an hour Geo Metro or the fuck he was driving. Because five guys just did a tap dance on me, man. I mean, they blasted me. And then, after they get done doing their special number, they hold me up and they cuff me. And here's how much they hated me. People who were sitting by Dennis and I, came up to where, because they saw everything explode, and it was a woman and a little girl who had gotten stitches from getting hit in the head with one of the cowbells. They come up and they go, "It's not him, sir. Officer, it's not him. It's the guys up here. They were throwing the bells. It's not him." And this cop wheeled on this woman like my buddy Kurt on a little kid at a baseball game. And he wheeled and got like jaw to jaw with her, and he goes, "Get the fuck out of here, lady, or you're next." That was what he said. So they weren't in any sort of negotiating mood at that point. They had pretty much gotten their quarry. They didn't care who was throwing what. They were ready to put me into the cell. So they dragged me down, and also after they beat the hell out of me, I was wearing a softball jersey, like an old school softball jersey, and it had unbuttoned in the fray. So I'm just standing there, now my huge fatness is on display to everybody, and I'm like, "Can I at least button my shirt?" Nope. No, you're going to take the crazy beer gut walk of shame through the entire stadium as we show you off to everyone as a lesson of what not to do to the cops here. But the best part is, as they're dragging me through, other cops are running through the building and going to certain sections and figuring out what's going on, because it looked like a disaster movie was unfolding, because I can hear on their walkie-talkie there are incidents all over the park of people throwing metal and getting hit in the head and fights starting. So I was the vanguard. I was just the tip of the iceberg. So I guess I should be happy that they got me out of it, just in case everything went to complete hell. So they threw me in ballpark jail. And if you've ever been in ballpark jail, it's not bad. It's just you know what it is. It's like a supply closet with a cot. So I'm sitting in ballpark jail, and they kept me handcuffed with my shirt open, which was great. So then I'm trying to be like Houdini. Like I actually kind of like lay on my gut, and I'm rubbing back and forth. It looks like I'm trying to hump the cot, unfortunately. But what I'm trying to do is get my shirt to close, because I'm sitting. I don't need America to see my nipples as I get carted off to the joint. So I'm shimmying back and forth, just trying to get my shirt to close a little bit. I mean, just to get a modicum of dignity back as I sit here cuffed and bleeding. So they come in finally after an hour, and I'm like, "Look, seriously, can we do something about my shirt?" They're like, "No, shut the fuck up." And then they leave again. They leave me again. The game must be over at this point, because it's been an hour and it was in the 6th inning. I'm just in ballpark jail alone, and then I'm thinking, are they going to throw a guy in here? Because I'm cuffed. And then I'm thinking, am I going to get raped in ballpark jail? How terrible would that be? It'd be bad enough to get raped in regular jail, because in regular jail, you're on the lookout for it. You're thinking to yourself, all right, something bad could happen here. I'm going to have to be on my toes. But in ballpark jail, you're not expected to get raped. Some guy pops in with a Louisville Slugger, the next thing you know, you're bent over, getting rammed. You don't want that to fucking happen. That's awful. But again, that's what you're thinking. At least that's what I'm thinking in ballpark jail, as I try to distract myself from the fact that I'm bleeding all over my bare chest. I look like, so anyway, I'm shimmying, I'm trying to get the shirt closed. About a half hour later, and again, who knows? There's no clock in ballpark jail. It could have been 5 minutes later. All I know is I'm cuffed and bleeding. So they come and get me, and different cops get me. And I say, "What's going on? Do I get to go home?" And they're like, "No, you don't get to go home." They put me in a squad car, and they go to drive me to Anaheim, the police station, whatever, it's not county, but it's whatever the holdover station is. And they go, "Okay, well, we're putting you in jail." And I said, "Well, can you tell me, like, what am I being charged with anything?" And the guy goes, "Well, listen," he goes, "I'm going to tell you this. And the police officer you hit is a notorious red ass." That's exactly the word that he used. He goes, "The guy you hit," and I said, "Well," and this is how stupid I am. I could just sit there and listen at this point. But you know what? I've been in ballpark jail for an hour and a half, wondering if I'm going to get raped as I bleed on myself. I'm going to have a conversation and be a smart ass. He goes, "Hey, the guy you hit was a red ass." And I go, "Well, you know what? Technically, I hit 2 guys." I don't know it's like I'm literally asking for more charges to be filed. What an idiot. But he says to me, he goes, "Well, no, he goes, "We know you hit 1." I said, "Well," there was, honestly, I sort of remember the first guy I pushed out of the way. They go, "That's him." because you threw him over the railing of the thing, and that was the first time I found out that I threw a guy over the railing. All I knew was I pushed a guy out of the way and ran over another guy because a switch was flipped and I went after the pretzel boy. But so they said you threw him over the railing, and I guess he was embarrassed because he took a crazy fall. And they told me the guy's a notorious red ass, and he was upset because he honestly, he probably wanted to tune me up on his own and didn't get the chance because so much stuff was going on all over the park. So instead, he went ahead and filed a charge of felony assault and battery of a peace officer, which carried, at the time, I was told, a 6-year minimum sentence if I was found guilty. And again, I'm in the back of the squad car. The guy tells me I've been charged with felony assault and battery of a peace officer. And honestly, a guy could have tried to rape me at that point, and he wouldn't have been able to get in because my ass clenched so much after he told me that. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And he goes, no, he goes, you know what? He goes, this is mainly about him being embarrassed about what you did to him and him looking silly. And he's making sure that you spend the night in jail with this charge. And what you need to do is you need to get a lawyer and figure out where you're going to go from there. But we'll tell you honestly, this guy's kind of a prick, and he's doing this to make sure that you're in trouble. So they take me to jail in Anaheim, and the regular jail also not so much different than ballpark jail. I'll tell you that. It's like white brick, nicer cot. And finally they uncuff me so I can button my shirt finally after walking in and having to and there was a guy vomiting. We walk in, they go to bring me to my cell. There's actually a guy vomiting. He's in handcuffs. He's vomiting on the ground. And you got to step over that. And my favorite is when they yell at a guy who vomits. They did that. They're like, "Hey, easy." Really? What's he going to do? Swallow it and die? The guy's not fucking Bon Scott. Jesus Christ. Guy's got to puke. He's got to puke. It's your fault for not getting him into a cell or getting him a goddamn garbage can to vomit in. So they throw me in the clink, and I figure I'm going to be, I'm going to get a partner. Because, again, I've been in jail once before, and the one time I was in jail, I went to sleep, woke up. There were 9 dudes in my cell when I woke up. So this time I go, you know what you do? Don't sleep. That's what you got to do. Because if you go to sleep now, you're going to wake up. Who knows who could be in here? So I figure, you know what? Don't sleep. Because if I don't sleep, then no one's going to magically appear. But also, there's only one cot in this small, and it was a much smaller room. It wasn't like a Gen Pop situation. So I guess it was my own cell. So finally, after a couple hours, I said, you know what? You got to just go to sleep. So I got my one phone call, and I called my buddy Dennis, who apparently didn't back me the way that I thought he would because he didn't get picked up at the ballpark. He walked with me a little ways up to the. All I know is he went with me up to the top, and then I didn't see Dennis again. I don't know where he went. I know where he didn't go. Jail. So I called him up, and I'm like, I don't know if you were at the ballpark when all the unpleasantness went down. You may have gone to the car. I'm not sure how it worked out for you. But I'm presently in jail, and I don't know what is going to happen. So I don't know. They haven't even told me anything about bail yet. If you could bail me out, that would be great. If you could come and check on it, that'd be fantastic. And again, keep in mind, we live, I'm sleeping on his floor in his apartment. I mean, I got no money. I'm stealing money from coast to coast terminals as it is. Trying to be an open mic comic, and get that going. And boy, let me tell you, it got going. If I'm sitting here for free telling you this story, you can best believe that career skyrocketed. So now I'm in jail in Anaheim, and I finally go to sleep, and they pound on the door early in the morning, and I assumed it was like, 6, 10, because they never turn the lights out. Who has any idea what time it is? But listen to this. I don't know if it's still the case, but in 1989, you know what you got to eat in jail for breakfast? Carl's Jr. It was awesome. So in my head, I'm just like, well, on one hand, the threat of rape is constant, but on the other hand, the tater tots. Hey, from Carl's Jr. I would actually pay for this breakfast. Then I wound up getting because the breakfast at the Tahoe jail was like Frosted Flakes with room temperature milk and like a slice of bread with bologna. It was like it was like a brunch. That was brunch in jail. Was like a half a bologna sandwich and like warm milk with Frosted Flakes. Awful. And I told you, I didn't tell you. I told it on the other show that I was on. I woke up and there was a guy. He's like, "You gonna eat that?" Absolutely not. Please enjoy it, potential rapist. Every minute you're eating that food is another minute that you're not trying to get into my pants. Feel free to enjoy it. But when they brought the Carl's Jr., man, I was solo in there, so I enjoyed it. I had a nice little candle, lit a candle, and Had my pinky in the air, knocked down some orange juice and some fried potatoes and a little breakfast sandwich. It was great. And then basically I wound up getting let go. And then I went to court, my court date. And again, I was charged with felony assault and battery of a peace officer, but I had never been in any real trouble before. The previous arrest was for a warrant. So I went to my lawyer, and it was a PD, a public defender guy. And I woke up to him, and he goes, anything I should know? And I go, well, look, I got to ask you this, okay? When they arrested me, they just kind of beat the hell out of me. They never read me my rights. Nobody read me my rights at all, and I just wound up going to jail. That was how it worked out. So what do we do with that? And he goes, they don't have to read you your rights. That's only on television. Any other legal nuggets you want to bring my way? Literally, that's what the guy said to me. That's what my public defender said. Any other legal nuggets you want to bring my way? Well, no, sir. Sorry for trying to tell you your job, I guess, is what I was trying to do. But feel free to get me put in jail for 6 years for felony assault and battery of a peace officer. And he's like, well, you don't have to worry about that. You've never done anything. We'll tell them, what. And so basically he stood up, and they said, what's the charge? And they said felony assault and battery of a peace officer, and they talked some legal mumbo jumbo. They're legal nuggets. They went ahead and exchanged the legal nuggets that I couldn't bring their way, and it was knocked down to disorderly conduct and time served. So I didn't do anything. I paid a fine. I think I paid like $240. So yeah, that was me getting arrested at the baseball park. And every time we go to the ballpark now, every stadium I've ever been to since then, I've been to Camden Yards, I've been to the Metrodome, I've been all the stadiums in Chicago, I've been to San Francisco, all over the place. I walk in, within 5 minutes, I go, I wonder where the jail is in this ballpark. And then I say, I hope I never have to find out. So that was the last time I was in jail. How many among you can say that sentence? That was the last time I was in jail. I've been in jail twice. I don't drink. It's so funny. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. And so, I mean, if I did, I would, good Lord, how much more of a mess would I have made of things if I was climbing into a bottle? And I don't drink, but I have been, as people will say, you don't drink. I go, no, but I have been drunk. I got drunk. You know what? Just recently I got drunk. I was at the sushi bar. And, Karen and I are there, and we usually buy a beer for our chef, the guy. We buy him one of those big Sapporo bombers. And you remember them, by the way. That was a roller derby team from Japan, Sapporo Bombers. So I buy him a big thing, and he chugs it. Like, he pours himself a little short beer, and he chugs it. So he chugs it all the time. And then he, just recently, we're sitting there, and he chugged one, and he chugged one with a guy at the bar. They both chugged beers. And he was like, Mike, how come you don't drink? And I said, well, I just don't drink. I go, but I could show you something if you wanted to see it. And he's like, okay, what do you mean? And I said, well, all right. I go, pour me out a short beer. So he pours me a short beer, and I pounded it because I can just pour beer down my throat. Like especially a short beer, it's like one swallow and it's gone. And I did it, and he and the two other people at the sushi bar just kind of stared at me with their mouths open and just like, well, and my chef goes, you know what? Do that again. So he pours me a second beer, and I shot it back. I can drink a beer like it's a shot. So wham. I don't know if I'm conveying enough to you just how skilled I am at this. What an idiot I am. Listen, I can drink a beer really quickly. And if you go ahead and put it, and then I fucking moron. So then I do two of them, and then he goes, you know what? Do it again. So I finally, the third one, he pours me a short beer, and I bang it. And it's like, there's hilarity all around, and then we order another tuna tartare, whatever the hell we got. Toro tartare. So I sit down, and I am not kidding. Within, I'm going to say 2 minutes, I look at Karen, and I go, I am drunk. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, I don't know why, but I had that thing where when you move your head and then you stop, but your head keeps moving. You can't, like, you're not, and your hands are all weirded out, whatever, just drunk. But I got drunk on 3 short beers, and that's huge for me. Normally, other people, I guess, they would think if they drank a beer really fast, they would get drunk, but I never did, because I've always been like a huge fat guy. Like when I was a kid, one time, like I used to win money chugging. We used to go to parties, and because I didn't drink, I guess people thought that I couldn't do it. And also, I was a guy when I would chug, and I because I was a big fat guy, I would chug, but I would make sure not to spill because I didn't want to be a fat slob. I had rules about chugging. I was like the frontier gentleman of chugging when I would go to parties. I would just be like, all right, and because other guys like Pete Vondra, who I would Pete Vondra was a guy when we grew up. We would go to parties and we were like 17, 18, and Vondra was like 40. He's me. Vondra is me. And he would wind up in a party in a garage with us, surrounding the keg and being an asshole and busting our balls. And then the one time that he made me chug a beer. He actually goes, "Hey, I heard you're really good at chugging beer." And I'm like, "I don't drink, Pete." And he's like, "Fuck you, Schmidt, you're chugging." And I'm like, "Come on." And he goes, "No, I $20 that you can't beat me." And, that's all I had to hear as a kid is $20 you can't beat me because, again, I'm a guy who never wanted to work or do anything. And also, I'm not going to pass up the chance to make Vondra look like an idiot. So I get the beer, and we're at the keg, and Pat Conway comes down, and Pat Conway's like, "All right, 1, 2, 3, go." Boom, gone. And Vondra's still drinking. And Vondra's drunk, so he actually does this weird thing that you would see in a movie. Vondra chugs the beer and finishes and looks at me, and I'm just standing there like, "Hey, idiot, where's my $20? And he reaches up and pulls my mouth open by the jaw and, like, looks in my mouth like he's looking for a lion in a cave. Like, seriously? And he looks, and he's like, "Did you throw it over your shoulder?" And I'm like, "Dude, why would I do that, Pete? You'd kick my ass because you're 75 years old. I mean, you're much older than me." And he's like, "We're going again." I go, "Double or nothing?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm not paying you because I think you cheated." And I look at Conway and I'm like, "Did I cheat?" And the other guys are like, "No, Schmidt drank it." And he's like, "I don't care. I want to see it." So he makes me chug him again, and boom, gone. Destroyed Vondra. 2 in a row. And then Vondra, of course, didn't pay me because he was a jagoff. But then Dan Laporta came over and made Vondra pay me because Dan Laporta was a guy who was Laporta was a guy we went to high school with. And just a roughhouser. I mean, just a tooth chipper from the word go. And Vondra, again, like a 40-year-old guy who would hang out at our parties, scared of Laporta, even though Laporta 20 years younger than him. Anyway, who cares? So so he actually looked inside my mouth to make sure that I had chugged. That was interesting. But I mean, I used to chug all the time. I actually chugged one time at a party. I chugged a 2-liter bottle of wine coolers, straight down. Like, just as a goof, California Cooler. I don't know if they even sell it anymore. It was just, it tasted like lemonade with a hint of liquor in it, I suppose. And so it was like, I was an extreme chugger, apparently, because I drank an entire 2-liter bottle straight down of wine coolers. And got a pretty, and got buzzed. Not drunk, just buzzed. So I'm not a guy who gets drunk. And now to drink 3 short beers and get loaded, I'm just like, oh, if Vondra could see me now. Vondra would shake his head, peer into my mouth with one closed eye like Popeye, and then turn and slump off, and ask for his $20 back because I'm sure he probably needs it at this point. So I don't even know why I started talking about being drunk and chugging. Who knows? I'll tell you this: I've been doing stand up at clubs, not clubs so much recently, but I've been going to doing stand up at at these country clubs and doing these one-nighters. And it's different because it's not a club. It's a neighborhood association who decides to have a comedy night. And these shows have a very restrictive policy on content. Like, they tell you you're on PG-13 or PG or G. I think they'd probably prefer. But I know that the bottom line is that you can't say fuck. And I know those of you who've listened to several episodes of this podcast are thinking, how long does that show last for you, Mike? About a minute and a half? What's that last? About 95 seconds? No, I can do it. I don't have to say it. I like saying it. I'm sure you figured that out. But I don't need to say it on stage, and I can tailor my show accordingly. But I'm finding out that I can bother these people even without saying that. I can go ahead and find something to say that they're not going to enjoy. And I say that saying, I will tell you that the shows have gone very well. They continue to book me, so I continue to go to country clubs throughout Orange County and the this entire area, and it's working okay because they're paying me and everybody seems to be enjoying the show. But I'll find I've been doing I do jokes, I'll do like a Viagra joke, okay. And I know everybody does a Viagra joke, but, don't bust my balls. I'm working for real people. So anyway, I'm there. Because it's like when I do shows, in Hollywood at different clubs for younger people, I don't do it. But when I go on the road and I work for regular people, I'll do like a regular, act. I don't know. I can't. Let's put it this way. I can't just talk in circles in front of real people. Let's put it that way. I can't. I can't do what I'm doing now in front of this group of people down there. So. Here's the joke. I will tell you this joke, and then I will tell you the reaction I'm getting. I do a joke about the advertising for Viagra and about the commercials on television. And there's a commercial that they have. And in the commercial, it's a man and a woman walking down the street together. And they come upon a lingerie shop, and the guy kind of nudges the woman, and he points at the lingerie shop, and he makes a smirky face. And then she's like, "Tee-hee, you're so horny." And then she goes inside. and then they show him through the window of the lingerie shop, and they freeze his face with like a devil face, and they draw devil horns on his head, and they say, and the announcer goes, "He's back." Yeah, he's back. I'm sure he's very proud of himself that he's got to take a handful of pills to get a hard-on for his own wife. He's back. Come on, honey, I'm taking you to Pleasure Town with an awkward mix of self-loathing and chemically induced boner. Let's go. I hate myself, honey. Let's make love. So that's the joke. So I do that joke, and I thought it was funny and a funny commentary on the fact that their advertising tries to pump you up falsely, not unlike the pill itself. Unfortunately, I'm working these country clubs, and this even happened in Vegas, where it's an older crowd who, I don't know, is probably using that product and doesn't want to be reminded that they have shortcomings and that they might hate themselves because they have to medically get a boost to get a hard-on for their wife. And so I do the bit, and some wives are like, well, and it's not like a complete destruction. The younger guys will laugh, and some of the women will laugh, but you can just see these old dudes making this face at me just like, you know what, pal? Gonna happen to you someday. And I don't, I genuinely find it funny because it's like, to me, the fact that the advertising is so silly that they, look at this false confidence we're bringing you in this pill. And, but these people don't find it as funny as I do. So, and actually I just did a show last weekend, and I did that bit. But it's, and it goes well, but you can see in their face that some of them aren't enjoying it. As a matter of fact, when I did it this past weekend, I went to say goodbye to people, and an older guy shook my hand, and he held my hand like I went to walk away, and he continued to hold my hand, and he just looked at me in the eyes, and he says to me, I liked most of your sketch. Really, sir? You liked most of my little sketch, did you? Do me a favor, could you just slap me in the face rather than just go ahead and insult me right to my... honestly, I don't know if you think that you're helping, but I know he thought he was intimidating me by holding onto my hand. But you know what? I'm still 6'2", 280. I mean, you probably don't think that you're going to scare me. I don't care if we are in your gated community. I don't know if you're going to blow the whistle and then the Socias led by Leif Garrett are going to come out and beat my ass right here in the cul-de-sac. But, that was his opinion, so that was fine. And I guess I understand it because they don't want some smart... But I'm not even like a young guy. That's probably what makes them mad. Like if some smart-ass whippersnapper came in and was talking about Viagra, they'd be upset. But, I'm 40. They're probably thinking, you know what, pal? Literally 2 years. You're going to be diving into that yourself. And I actually, again, if you have to take Viagra or you want to take Viagra, that's fine. Go ahead. I haven't had to take it yet, but I do want to because I want to see what it does. But then there's part of me that's like, I can't take that. That's going to be, because I know, let's put it this way. I am always the guy who the one crazy thing happens to. So if I wind up taking Viagra, if it was like a cream or something, then I could be on board with it. And all right, let's be honest. I mean, any cream I could rub onto my cock, I'm going to be on board with. So I don't care what the effect is. If they told me it made it paisley, I'd be like, I'm in. Let's go. But the fact that it's a blue pill is always weird to me because I figure that I will be the one guy, like I'll take the blue pill of Viagra and it will turn out like I'll blow up like a blueberry, like Violet in Willy Wonka. Like, and then they'll have to wheel me down to the juicing room and juice my cock, which would not be good for anybody. Because again, I am the guy that happens to. I'm the 1 in 100 that the trial and error that I wind up blowing. I'm going to blow up like Violet Beauregaard. That's exactly what's going to happen. And they're going to have to wheel me down to the juicing room and juice my cock, and then that's not good for anybody. And then the Oompa Loompas can come out and sing their song about my crank. What do you get when your cock is so blue? That would be awful. So. But that would kill my heart on if the Oompa Loompas came out and started singing a song about me. That I don't even know. I didn't even need to go to the juicing room. I've got orange and green midgets singing songs at me. Right down. I am tough to stay hard through that song and dance. Although that honestly, I might need Viagra just to get it up for myself the next few months, years, because. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be active at my house anymore because my wife not happy with me. Let me go ahead and drop that in your lap. Here's the thing, though. My wife listened to episode 11, which was last week's episode, just yesterday. And she had not, she didn't hear it. But the thing is, all right, here's the problem. My wife doesn't understand that she's the hero in all of these stories. My wife still has not listened to episode 4. which was a story about us going to a club in Las Vegas that involves itself in some sort of weird sexual activity. All she knew was I was going to talk about it, and she was out. Didn't want to hear it. I tried to explain to her that all I did was I told the truth about what happened, and that she is the hero of this story, as she is the hero of every single story that we're involved in. She listened to episode 11 and somehow took away that I was making fun of her, and that she didn't like the fact that I put it to you guys for a vote, because apparently she thought you guys were going to side with me. No. First of all, let me put it this way. When I say side with me, I mean vote for selling the tickets. I got to explain something about last week. I talk. All I do is talk, and I spit out everything that I'm thinking. Because I say it doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. I got to ask you folks, again, you don't know me. Although, let me tell you, you write emails to me as if you do know me. Particularly, I'm talking about the guy who addressed his email to me or his comment on my website as, "Hey, stupid fuck." And then the next line was, "I'm really loving the podcast." If you were really loving the podcast, you wouldn't have written, "Hey, stupid fuck." And it's so funny when people write comments on my website and communiques, I refuse to edit them. Because I'm not that guy. Even if you wrote, something that I didn't agree with or didn't like, I call for it. I ask for your feedback, so I'm going to put it up. That's just kind of the way I do it. But I published his thing with "Hey, stupid fuck." And about 5 minutes later, I went, you know what? Even I don't hate myself that much. It's your website. Go ahead and edit "Hey, stupid fuck" out of the comment. And I haven't, as of this moment, I haven't written that person back, but I will write them before this goes to air, so he will have this also in print. He doesn't have to hear about it just over the airwaves that I'm telling him, "Hey, stupid fuck was not good." Seemed a little strong, I'm going to say, even for me. But so you guys send emails, and I love it. I'm glad that you guys had strong opinions about last week, and it was funny. Karen seemed to think that everybody was going to rally with me and go, "Hey, yeah, sell the tickets." No, I can only. And I told her I didn't want to even bring up the entire thing until she had listened to the show, because my wife, she doesn't listen to the show. I think it really makes her uncomfortable, and it's because, she's been married to me. We've been together for 15 years. And in my stand-up career, I never talked about us, ever. I would always talk. I worked topical. I talked about anything but my life, because my older brother is a stand-up comedian, and he really kind of covered a lot of the stuff about our family, and I felt like I was rehashing stuff that he was already discussing, even though I lived it too. So I guess I have the rights to it as well. But I never really talked about us. But recently, I would say in the past couple of years, I've started to talk about us, and now it's become almost everything that I talk about. And I think that really weirds her out. And even though I try to explain to her, I go, look, if you would just listen to it, you would understand everyone thinks you're a genius, and that they can't understand why you're still with me. And I don't know if maybe that's what it is. Maybe she doesn't like being looked at as someone who's making the wrong decisions. I don't know. I can't get in her head and figure out what it is. But I know last night when we went out and had a nice discussion about how she couldn't believe that I was saying this and doing this. And I'm like, look, don't you understand you're the hero? You are I almost wanted to show her the emails. I got like 175 emails from you guys. And I'm going to be honest. I think 173 of them said, "Hey, idiot, why would you even bother thinking about selling the tickets?" But that's the key. I was thinking about selling the tickets. That's it. And it had just happened, so I decided to talk about it on the show, just like I'm talking about it now. I mean, if I had sold the tickets, I'd be a complete jagoff. There can be no, absolutely. My wife has done a ton for me, and she deserves the tickets and all that. But I will tell you this: if it was Bon Jovi, I would have sold those fucking tickets. Because I've had to sit through Bon Jovi with her like twice now, and then they came this year, and I assured her that we would go when they came, and then time came, and I was like, "Hon, I can't. I just can't see Bon Jovi again. I'm finished." You know what? I don't dislike Bon Jovi. It's just it comes a point where you just go, you know what? I think I'm finished seeing them. I don't need to sit through that again. I know you're wanted, dead or alive. I'm gonna go with dead. That's what I'm wanting. But I didn't sell the tickets, okay? And I appreciate all of you forcefully telling me that I shouldn't sell the tickets. And that's great. Again, some of you, I actually lost some people. I got some emails from some people who said that that show was the final straw for them. That they had hung with me as long as they could, and they decided that. One guy actually, he sent me an email and then killed me on iTunes. And then some other people sent me emails saying, you know what, we can't listen anymore. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to lose you guys, but you know what? I'm trying to be funny and I'm trying to be honest at the same time. And ever the twain shall meet. How gay was that? Who says that? Ever the twain shall meet. Will meet? I don't know. All I know is, so the bottom line is my wife has a really nice purse, and we're also going to the Greek Theater to see John Cougar. And I don't actually, we're the only ones seeing John Cougar. Everybody else is there to see John Mellencamp. I don't want to get beat up by John. I don't need to be getting thrashed by him. It's John Mellencamp. But thank you for everybody voting. Even if you came at me in a way, I got electronically raped by some of you with your emails and comments. But yeah, the bottom line is we're going to the show. So hey, look forward to that. That episode is coming up, a review of the John Mellencamp concert. That's going to be fantastic. So there you go. Thank you again for responding and in droves to that. That was interesting. And let's all hope that my wife comes around and realizes that she's really the hero of this show. Because I told her yesterday, I go, you know what? I don't think you should listen anymore. I don't. It's, because I just started doing material about us, or even talking about us, and the material I'm doing, because I don't write these, the old ball and chain and all that. I love my wife and I love being married. She's the best. Even when we split up and she gave me the boot. And I went and lived with Kurt, who was, I mentioned earlier in the show, and that was fun, by the way, living with Kurt, the very abrupt, angry guy. Imagine the two of us in an apartment. Like, there was just this tornado of anger at all times, just whirling around the apartment. And Kurt lives in it's a 2-bedroom, and the one bedroom's upstairs, which I had, and he had the bedroom downstairs. But then he built like a soundproof area in his apartment. He's actually built wood, like, because it had an open breakfast bar that went into the living room. Well, he's sealed it off to where he's got basically his own little 1-bedroom apartment in the downstairs. And it is the kind of place where if you brought a date and you walked into your apartment and she saw that, she'd just go, seriously, I have to go because I'm hoping to be seen again. His house, and I bust his balls on it and he hates it, but it's just, I don't understand why he did it or how he did it. And to the point now where I every time I see him, I go, I picture him having built it down into he's in a coffin-sized space with a bed and a small television. Like that's what he lives in. He's just one of these guys who keeps tinkering and building and adding on. And because he wants to live separately from the person that he lives with. So when I lived there and I would come downstairs, it's just, like I said, it's this huge wall of wood. And then when you go, it's insane. So there you go. But so I lived with him after Karen gave me the boot. But reconnected with him Sunday, hoping that, once she finally gives me the boot again after listening to the podcast a few more times, I definitely have a place to go stay. And if he's going ahead and build any more additions on there, I mean, I could just, he could have 4 or 5 of us living there. It would be just like, like when the Asians built the railroad back in the 1800s in the Old West, and they'd walk into a barn and there was 75 of them living there. I got no problem with that. That's what I got going on. Either that or maybe I'll stay here at Lily's on her crazy primary colored blue couch. All right. So thank you for the emails. The tickets were not sold. The purse was not returned. It was not a problem. It was just me talking out loud, and I guess not realizing everybody would hear it and go, hey, jerk. Because I never really... I have to admit, I never really intended on selling the tickets. But at the time, when you're frustrated, you're just talking. And when you're talking, sometimes things get out, and that's that. So thank you all for your emails and your opinions, even if some of them were like an electronic fist. But that's okay. I appreciate you telling me what you thought. And you can tell me what you think this week. Go ahead to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and send me an email at Mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com, or leave a message on my communique, which will go up inevitably with this episode to announce the arrival, to herald the arrival, to trumpet the arrival. That's a lot of arrivals, I've said. Also go to myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Leave any comments on there. And feel free to comment on my blog or send a kudo or tell Tom about me because maybe he'll be my friend because Tom needs more friends. And also you can go to, what did I say, MikeSchmidtComedy.com, and Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com is my email address, and also MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. And that's it. That's all the internet. Oh, no, and also go to ComedyFilmNerds.com. I haven't written anything in a month for those fine folks. Here's why. I'll tell you why. This will show you. This will give you a window into my tiny brain. I was asked to write for them by my friend Graham Elwood, who's an amazing guy, and my friend Chris Mancini. They run the site, and they were like, "Hey, you want to write?" And I go, "What do you want me to write?" And they go, "Well, you know what? We need reviews and columns and stuff like that. But if you want to do a column, man, you could just pretty much write whatever you wanted as long as it was movie related." And I was like, "That is awesome. How great would that be?" It's essentially like a written podcast. I can write whatever I want, and I can go off on tangents and do whatever I got to do. So then I submitted my first article, and I got an email from Chris with the rules for writing on the site. And the rules are, and again, they're normal rules because it's their website. They can have that. That's fantastic. But I am a child, and the second I got the rules, it immediately became work, and I went, you know what? I don't want to write any more of these because I am a baby. God. I just, and that's why I haven't written anything. I've seen plenty of movies. I have plenty of thoughts about those movies, and yet I haven't sat down to do it because I don't want to double space my paragraph. What a jerk. But that's who I am. But I'm getting over it. I'm going to grab myself by my tiny, tiny bootstraps and make myself type the things I'm supposed to type. So there will be something up at ComedyFilmNerds.com unless they hear this and go, you know what? This guy isn't fucking worth our time. Which they just very well might, because you know what? This is what it was. I was all for it. I was gung-ho. I wrote 2 columns within a week, and then I got the email telling me that I had to double space stuff and all, and I just went, oh, that seems like a lot of work. No, it doesn't. That's not work at all. All you have to do when you finish a sentence and you hit the space bar to start the other sentence, hit the space bar again. That's all you've got to do. But it was enough to make me go, oh, man, so this isn't what I thought it was. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, you dick. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do the things you're supposed to do? I cannot figure it out, folks. I'm 40 years old. I know what I'm supposed to do, and yet I don't do it. I talked to my shrink about it. I'm sitting there, I'm telling her what's going on, and she's like, what? I'll see her, and then a week will go by, and I won't make any changes at all, and I'll talk to her, and she goes, what's going on? And I go, nothing. And she's like, well, what'd you do? And I go, look, I know what I have to do. I just got to do it. She's like, how many times are you going to say that? Exactly. I don't know. I have no idea. I've done it my whole life, man. I have been a guy who is anything that smacks of work, I'm out the fucking door. I don't, like even this show, I dread it. I don't dread it. I love it. I love doing it. But the entire time I'm getting close to doing it, I'm just like, Jesus, what if I can't do it this week? What if I don't have it? And oh my God, I got to go and drive 4 miles and talk. Why is that a problem? What the fuck is wrong with me? All right. So go ahead and write me and get a hold of me and tell me what's wrong with me because I know you will. Maybe this honesty thing isn't working. Maybe we should just go back to the funny thing because it's like I'm like, well, you know what? Try to be honest. Maybe there's some funny there. Maybe you can find some funny out of it. No, inevitably I wind up looking like a dick, and maybe it's because I am a dick. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But who am I really hurting? I'm hurting me, folks. That's who I'm hurting. So you know what? It's like drugs. Drugs are a victimless crime. All you hurt is the person there. So insanity in this case is a victimless crime until I fucking snap and I go on a killing spree. Although, as we know from another episode, it won't be with a gun because that seemed like too much work. Loading the gun seemed like too much work. It's like I don't know how I'm going to kill people. I can't even figure it out. How could I kill people where it wouldn't be work? You know what? I could bore them to death with this nonsense as I ramble on about nothing. Good God. Just stop it. You know what? I for your own good, folks, go listen to some other podcast. Do it. Just go ahead and abandon me and leave me to my rambling. God knows I'll still be doing this. It's just you won't have to hear it. Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot. All right. So write me at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Unless I've hanged myself by then, I will get it and I will read it and I will enjoy it. And also go to ComedyFilmNerds.com because there will be something up there as I go ahead and focus my energies into writing something about Indiana Jones or some other nonsense. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And also go to MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Thank you so much. And also go to iTunes and leave some feedback for me. That'd be great if you guys wanted to post a review in iTunes and let them know what you think, unless you're taken off. But then who cares? Just post a review. And I appreciate it. I just like the fact that you guys are listening, and that's great. So hopefully I haven't chased you guys away with all this ridiculousness. I don't know. I did part of me, like I said, I'm like, oh, well, go be funny, but also be honest. But I mean, there's honesty and funny are kind of the same thing. I mean, you can bring them together and it'll work out. But I find out that last week when I was a little too honest, apparently people didn't enjoy it, and they went ahead and crucified me via the email. And I don't blame them. Certainly, I asked for the feedback, and I wanted to hear from people. I don't know if I necessarily wanted to hear people saying that I was a guy who would never get it and would never grow up and would never be a guy. Well, really? You don't think I'll ever grow up? Hey, the show's called The 40-Year-Old Boy. What was your first tip that I wasn't going to be growing up anytime soon? That was the whole point of doing the show, is that I am a guy who has no idea what's going on. None. Absolutely nothing. I can't figure it. I went to Kung Fu Panda, folks. That's how out of it I am. I'm a 40-year-old man who actually paid to see Kung Fu Panda. What the hell does that tell you about me? Granted, I enjoy Jack Black, and I like films. Dustin Hoffman is involved. I guess I'll have to go and see that. By the way, Dustin Hoffman is a dick. He was on The Tonight Show, and you know what? Older actors like Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro, and listen to this complaint that I'm going to have for you that you won't believe is coming out of my mouth. They're too self-absorbed. That's what those guys are. I'm saying somebody's too self-absorbed. How does that strike you? Jesus, but they go around and they got their, anything happens, they're done and mumbling and trying to go I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jag-off. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jag-off. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.